A miracle of compression. That's my review of All the Way in a nutshell. The compression in Robert Schenkken's play gives us the first 11 months of Lyndon Johnson's presidency in 2.5 hours. The miracle is that the play is so dramatic and so even-handed. Act 1 focuses on the struggle to get the Civil Rights Act of 1964 through the Congress. Act 2 is about Johnson's campaign for re-election. The play's title comes from the campaign slogan, "All the Way with LBJ." In the season opening production at the Repertory Theater of St. Louis, Johnson is played by Brian Dykstra. Regulars at the Rep will remember his volcanic performance 4 years ago as the artist Martha Rothko in John Logan's Red. Dykstra is equally memorable in All the Way. He bears a physical resemblance to Johnson from the hairline on down, but what really matters is that he uses his body the way Johnson did. LBJ was legendary for his ability to find the right means of persuasion for anyone who stood in his way, from coaxing and cajoling to bullying and browbeating. He flattered Senate Minority Leader Everett McKinley Dirksen into supporting the Civil Rights Bill. He bludgeoned Walter Reuther into supporting a compromise on seating Mississippi delegates at the Democratic National Convention. It's all completely convincing in Dykstra's performance. Kurt Zischke doesn't look like Hubert Humphrey, but Zischke carries himself the way Humphrey did and conveys the neediness that made Humphrey willing to become LBJ's puppet in exchange for the vice presidency. Michael James Reed has much more stage time than dialogue as Walter Jenkins, Johnson's chief aide and dear friend, but Reed creates a full characterization out of Jenkins' precise way of moving. Anderson Matthews has the manner of privilege one expects from LBJ's friend and mentor in the Senate, Richard Russell of Georgia. The transformation of the men's relationship is fascinating to watch during the clash over civil rights in the performances by Dykstra and Matthews. Bernadette Quigley as Lady Bird Johnson is a strong contributor to the private scenes between LBJ and Russell and elsewhere. Some of Johnson's other antagonists in the Southern Bloc include Stephen D'Ambrose as Strom Thurmond, John Leonard Thompson as Senator Eastland, and Gary Wayne Barker as House Rules Committee Chairman Judge Smith. Johnson had opponents on the other side of the civil rights issues too. Schenkken's script is remarkably even-handed in letting civil rights leaders express their frustrations at Johnson's compromises and political maneuvering. The differences within the civil rights camp are sharply etched by Avery Glimpf as Dr. King, Ron Himes as Ralph Abernathy, Richard Prallo as Stokely Carmichael, J. Samuel Davis as Roy Wilkins, J. Cameron Barnett as Bob Moses, and Jerry Vogel as Stanley Levison. Fannie Lou Hamer's testimony on television is compelling in the performance by Mixel Lydia Tyler, who also portrayed Coretta Scott King. Most of the actors play multiple parts. Another one of Gary Wayne Barker's roles is Senator Dirksen. Director Steve Wolf chose wisely in not casting a look-alike or sound-alike as Dirksen, keeping the focus on the character, not the impression. The same is true of Robert Vincent Smith's truculent portrayal of J. Edgar Hoover. The high standards are maintained by John Shaver as George Wallace, Elizabeth Meadows Rouse as Lurleen Wallace, and Alan Knoll. James Kranzer's set design has the simplicity and flexibility that would just as easily accommodate a Shakespeare history play. The costumes by Dorothy Marshall Inglis had me when I saw the tie clasps. Rob Denton's lights, Fitzpatrick's sound design, and Matthew Young's projections help the production keep moving at a pace that never slackens. What a gripping start for the Rep's new season.
Yeah, I quite agree with what you were saying about how the compression, make it so dramatic and to cover so much of that material. I wish we had also had time to get a little more into the character of Johnson himself, but hey, it's still a pretty exciting evening of theater.
It sure is.